no snow at the moment in Edinburgh. Now we're in Greyfriars and your maps are working, so you'll be able to see the location on your maps. We're going to have a little look around the graveyard, that's mainly what we're here for, but the church is open and I have got permission to go in and do a little bit of live streaming from there. So the first thing we're going to do is that. Now if you have any questions you can pop them into the chat. I may or may not see them. The chat moves very quickly for me, so I don't always get to see what it is. I'm severely dyslexic, so we're going to go over this. So I have the reading age of about a 5-6 year old. Okay, so when I have to read, it takes a vast amount of concentration for me. So sometimes if the chat is too busy, I just can't do it. When you join a tour of mine, I will not personally greet you until I've known you for a long time. I still have one Voyager that has known me from the beginning, and because I didn't catch the name properly at the beginning and all I could see was the country, Sweden, I've never called her by her name, but she knows I'm not trying to offend her. So if you tip me, if you follow me, if you sponsor me and I don't say thank you personally, I've missed it. It's gone past my chat before I've realised it's happened. So please don't feel unappreciated, because a lot of people kind of do, and it's not personal like that at all. Okay, so yeah, so the ways to support your guide: you can follow them. That's where you just click the little follow button at the top and you'll get notifications when they put new tours on and things. And there's also a little bell. If you see a tour that you want to do but it's not got a time on it, a date, press the bell, and when it goes live you'll get a little notification, and that way hopefully it'll be a time you can do it. The other way to support the platform and the guides is to tip. HeyGo is a free platform to watch, but the tipping is what keeps it going. The guide gets paid with the tips, as does the platform. So we get 60%, the platform gets 40%. If we don't get enough tips, then the platform will disappear. We've already lost beams and we don't want to lose HeyGo. So yeah, I'm banging on, but that's what it is. And the other way to support a guide is to sponsor them. Can you hear the music? Oh no, you can sponsor a guide. It's a once a month payment. It's like $10. So yeah, there's all that to go on. Right, now in the middle you have a postcard button. So middle bottom of your screen, there's a round button. You click that and it'll take a postcard. Your ancestors were Covenanters. Cool. Click that and it's got a little counter at the side, tells you how many postcards you've taken, and at the end you can go into your dashboard and you'll be able to download them and things from there. If you're on a phone, it's down where your comments chat is. You can shut the chat down if you want to. If you're having any technical difficulties, refresh your screen. If that doesn't work, come out of HeyGo, go back in. That should sort it. If somebody comes on and says they can't hear me, it's usually because they've not unmuted me. So if you just put unmute in the chat, then usually they can take it from there. Now, there are experienced Voyagers on today, so if I miss anything in the chat technical-wise, they can usually jump in and point you in the right direction. That's the nice thing about HeyGo. Everybody's kind of one big family. We all look after each other. So yeah, right. So I am going to take you into the church first. I haven't missed anything else, have I? No, I think I've covered it all. Right, there we go. Okay, oh yeah, my name is Sam Thompson. I'm an Edinburgh tour guide and I've been a tour guide for 23 years. But anyway, right, I'm going to take us into the church quickly and then I'll tell you all about the monastery and everything afterwards. Oh, you're reading a book about the church now? Excellent. Okay, so it's a one-way system at the moment because of COVID. So the good thing is we get to go in one door and come out the other. Okay. And I'll just let you see as we come in. So Greyfriars. Now when you do come into the church, I am going to be quiet because we're in a church, but there's the facility here. You just tap it with your card. It's chip and pin. It costs £3 for a donation. So it's not a lot, and it is, it helps the church. Right. So the church dates back to the 1620s. Here we've got an organ. This is an old mobile organ. If you look, you can see there's wheels at the bottom, and you can see at the back here we have this American flag. You don't expect to see that in a church, but there you are. But I'll explain it outside. This literally is just a quick in and out because it's not part of the tour, but since it was open I wanted to show you it. Now this is Lady Yester's chapel, just over in the corner, but today it's got things in so I can't actually get you in to see it, but I'm going to talk about her in a little while. And then we've got these Lovely stained glass windows. And then from here we get a fantastic view of the organ. I love this organ, I just think it's gorgeous. Now on the organ you can see you've got all the pipes and things, but we actually have a little carving of Bobby. I'm just going to zoom in. There you see, there's Bobby. And I'll tell you about Bobby when we get outside. Right, so I'm just going to take us down a little bit closer to the organ, and then I'm going to take us out and start the tour, because like I say, this is not part of the tour normally, but I just wanted you to get a little look at the detail. In fact, I'm just going to quickly show you my favourite stained glass window. I love the window in this church, it's beautiful. I just think it's gorgeous. Unfortunately, I can't bring the light down, so it's a bit washed out looking to you. If I go up a bit, it might come down, it might darken. No, it's not going to. But I just love this window. Isn't that beautiful? Right, so I'm just going to take us out now. So this was just a little added bonus to see the inside, because normally we don't come in. And they have a really good little gift shop. So some fantastic books all about Bobby, about Edinburgh, the history, and they've got a really good map. So if you're a Harry Potter fan, it's 50p to buy the map, and it shows you all the Harry Potter connections. Yes, the window was gorgeous. Right, so I'm just going to take us out now. Thank you. There we go. So if you do come to Edinburgh and this church is open, definitely go in. I mean, I just ran round it there. There's a beautiful little museum inside. You're not allowed to film in it, that's why I didn't show it. Under the organ to the left, there's this fantastic museum. And it's about the size of what we're standing in now. It is very small, but it has a lot of history to it. So if you do get the chance to come in here, I definitely would come and see it. Right, so push to open. You know that famous whoops, I did the wrong thing there. I tried to pull it open when I was coming out, and you could just see them going, push. Right, okie dokie. So anyone that's just joined, that was just a little impromptu tour, or look, not even a tour, it was just a look inside the church, because it's open and I was given permission, and I paid my wee donation before I did the tour. Right, so Greyfriars, where we are, so you can see it's a fairly reasonable size. Greyfriars, now there were Greyfriars in Scotland from 1231, and they were founded by St Francis of Assisi, and they were devoted to the moral and spiritual regeneration of the poor. So they're brothers of the poor, they were called, or the brothers of mankind. Now their habits, the clothing they wore, consisted of a long tunic, and it was made of undyed wool, and it had a hood. In the winter they were allowed to wear a cloak, which was rough cloth again, and usually they were barefoot, but in Scotland they were allowed to wear sandals, because you can imagine how cold Scotland can be, especially in the winter time. And they were called Greyfriars because of the undyed wool, so it gave their clothes this grey look. Anyway, right, now the Edinburgh Greyfriars, sorry, I want to show you the map, but there's people standing at it just now, so I'll get there in a second. The Edinburgh Greyfriars arrived here in a response to an invitation by James I in 1436. They settled, there was a settlement of 6 friars on a plot of land bounded on the north by the Grass Market, so down at the bottom of the hill here is the Grass Market, and on the east by Candlemaker Row. So you see these houses here, they face on to Candlemaker Row, just to get your bearings. Now the gateway closest to the Grass Market was not added until 1562. So at the very bottom of the hill here, there's actually a gate to get you out into the Grass Market. So it's a fairly new gate compared to the rest of the area. Now, so that gate was added when the land was given to the city. Now, the southern portion, known as the croft or the upper yard, was not obtained until 100 years later. Sorry, I just realised there's a question in there. Here's a nice wee map for you. Sam, you were going to say why? Oh, the American flag. Yes, thank you. The American flag is there because the church was built at the same time as the Mayflower to America. So it was flown on Congress and given to the church on its anniversary. Yeah. So if you look at that little map, sorry, I forgot to say, click on the map. It will open up in the chat, give you a full image, and then there's a little postcard button. You can click on it and you'll be able to get a copy of that there. So here, basically the map's just kind of showing you and easier to see than this. So this is just letting you kind of see. And so if you take some postcards, you don't have to. Now, in 1461, the friars received £50 from James II. The Fathers of the Poor, the friars, became a sanctuary for the poor to get food and medicine here. Now, the friars preached in the town regularly, and they were actually given, for that service, 6 barrels of Sloan's beer annually. Now, Sloan's beer was sour beer and oatmeal, which sounds absolutely awful. And talking about the friars and medicines for the poor, this is one of the medicinal herb gardens that has been planted in recent years to remind us of that. And it's basically there's about 4 or 5 of these beds around the burial ground. Now, unfortunately, the time of year, all we're seeing is really daffodils, but you know, they're still pretty, little sunshine. So you can see one of the little plaques. Now, not all of these are still here because over COVID and things, the gardens weren't tended as they would normally have been. So a lot of the little plaques telling you what the plants are and what they're used for have disappeared, but you still get the idea. Now, Greyfriars Kirk, the church here, 1651 to 53, Oliver Cromwell used the church, where we've just been inside for those that were here at the beginning. They used it as a barracks. Yes. Now, there's not a lot of the original church left that's sort of surviving today. So it was a simple sort of 6-bay building with a late Gothic style, side aisles and pillars forming arcades. Worshippers in the church originally either stood or they brought their own stools, and the only furniture would have been the pulpit. So that's all that would have been in the church at the time. Now, the entrance from the east, south and north, that they had several entrances. The old north porch now forms one of the main entrances inside the porch, which was added in 1721. So you can see the addition. We were standing inside there, so the old one of the old entrances was just there, and that provided access to both churches because there was two entrances and 2 separate parishes. Lots of the churches were subdivided into different parishes and things. The church today, as it stands today, it has a service every Sunday. It's English speakers first, and then the Gaelic congregation go in and they have their service as well. Now, in the 1700s, the town council stored gunpowder in a small squat tower at the west end. So the far end of the church, they had a gunpowder store, and yeah, you don't really need much imagination to work out that it blew up. So in 1718, it blew up the tower. Following a fire in 1845, though, Reverend Robert Lee saw an opportunity. Oh, that wind is absolutely freezing. Oh, he saw an opportunity. Sorry, the wind's blowing. He saw an opportunity to kind of reform aspects of worship in the church. So he implemented the first stained glass windows in a Scottish church. I think it was just in Dog's Dirt. So he got the first stained glass windows to be put into the church. Now, had Lee not suffered a stroke in 1867, he would actually have been called for trial at the bar for being an innovator because of his reforms. Now this little plot here is to Greyfriar's Bobby. Bobby was a little Skye Terrier. His master died when he was 2, and the dog was so devoted he followed the funeral cortege into the graveyard and slept by his master's grave for 14 years. Now we have a memorial to Bobby, this little thing here. He's actually buried outside the gate because you can't bury animals on consecrated ground. The tradition is you leave sticks for Bobby. You leave him a stick, not toys, not stones, nothing like that, just a stick. That is the tradition. It's difficult because people come and they try to put their own traditions on things as opposed to what the country they're in does. So sometimes it can look quite messy when you've got stuffed toys and all that kind of nonsense. And you know, if you want to leave something, you leave them a stick. Don't leave stones. Dogs don't like stones, it breaks their teeth, and on top of that you're taking the stone off the path, which is there to protect the burials underneath, to put it on top of a monument that's a memorial to a dog that's buried outside the gate. Can you please zoom in on him? 2 wee seconds. Oh, there we go. There. Okay, have you got a picture? Excellent. I'll bring you back out because if I walk with the zoom on, you'll all get seasick. Yes, so it's a lovely monument to Bobby. Now the National Covenant was actually signed in 1638. It was signed in front of the pulpit. Some say it was in the Kirkyard, but it was in front of the pulpit. Now this was a document of great importance in that and it was crucial to the development in a turbulent time in Scotland's history revolving around religion and civil reform. I'm not going to go into huge detail on the Covenant because we could spend an hour just talking about it. So if you're interested, there's lots of articles online that are really good about it. And the other thing I've mentioned already was the American flag. So that was given in 1970, I think it was, on the 350th anniversary there. Now, this is just showing us some of the people you may have heard of in Scottish history that are buried here and the dates they were buried. So, James Douglas, Earl of Morton, Regent of Scotland, 1581. George Buchanan, historian, reformer. Alexander Henderson, churchman, statesman, and instrumental. And I think it was drawing up the National Covenant. And on it goes. So there's quite a lot of interesting people buried in here. Now, Lady Yester's monument, which is just where that window is there that we're looking at, on the inside of the church, it's unfortunately I couldn't show you it because it was closed today, but it's one of the unusual for the time because women back in the day didn't have the opportunity to really do good things other than look after children and housework and that kind of thing. So they had very little independence in society, and it was stressed that a woman's duty was to her family. But some upper class, wealthy and widowed could actually were presented with an opportunity to be part of society. So Lady Yester, she was twice widowed, but she inherited great wealth, more than any other Scottish woman at the time. So she actually had, by 1635, her wealth, she was so rich that she was able to build the Tron Church. So on the Royal Mile, you've maybe seen the Tron Church, and Lady Yester's Kirk, where her monument used to stand. But when that church was out of use, the monument was actually brought to Greyfriars. Now, I'm just going to turn us round and we're going to have a little look at the Milnes Memorial. I think, let me see if I can't get it all in because there's railings, but I'm just going to let you have a look at the top if you want to take a postcard, and then I'll move it down. Now, the inscription is to the Master Mason John Milne, and it notes that he was 6th Master Mason to the Crown of Scotland. The family served 7 successive kings. So that's what the inscription's telling you. Now, as a Master Mason to the Crown, Milne surveyed Holyrood Abbey, Holyrood Palace, designed fortifications in Shetland, to protect it against Dutch invasion. Other notable works include the Tron Kirk, Heriot's Hospital. His nephew and successor actually designed the monument. But we've got lots of symbolism here, so you can see the hourglass If you've been on my other graveyard tours, you'll have heard about this. The sands of time have run out. That's what that's telling you. We have got green men, or some sort of sinister looking thing going on here. Angels, all sorts. So there's lots of symbolism and detail. The trouble is trying to take it all in. It's quite hard. Right, now I'm just going to zoom back out because I don't want to walk whilst it's on Zoom. I did that the other day and it was just vomit inducing. Yeah, right, oopsie daisy. Okay, so just ahead of us again, we have another garden. Well, there's a Milnes Court as well in Edinburgh. So yeah, there's lots of connections. Hopefully you'll be able to get your research done, because it would be good if you were related to them, because the research is fairly easy when it's rich people you're researching, or people that are nobility. They have a paper trail. It's the poorer in society makes it really hard. So here we have the sundial bed, okay, and then we have this lovely dyer's bed, and we also have the ladies' bed. So we have the lady for ladies' complaints. So we've got quite a few things going on here. We've got daffodils just now. There's your sundial bed just there. I wonder if we do it like that, you might get a picture. Yeah. So all the things you can use for dyeing are just here as well. So over in this section, we've got alkanet and all sorts of things going on in there. Oh, excuse me. I'm actually just going to take a wee drink of water while we're standing, because my throat's going really, really dry. Okay, sorry, excuse me. It'll just be a second. There's a crow that's being quite noisy. Inverness. Well, fingers crossed you can get some details about where they lived and things in Inverness. If they're part of the trade guilds, there's all sorts of information you can find out. So now we're going to have a look at some of the monuments now, just some of the people that are in here. We're just going to have a look at Robert Sibbald. He's just here. Now, he was born on the 15th of April 1641 in Fife, and he died in August 1722. He was the founder of the Royal College of Physicians. You might have heard me talk about him actually on the Gardens tour. And then in March 1660, he travelled to Lycan to learn anatomy, surgery, botany, chemistry, and natural philosophy. Wow, that's a lot. Then he went to Paris, where he graduated, and he moved to London. And then that's where he spent 3 months with his cousin Andrew Balfour, who later founded what is now to become known as the Royal Botanic Gardens of Edinburgh in 1670. So there's not a huge amount left in to look at, but we do have a nice little kind of plaque put up here that you can see. Yeah, Scotland's People's website is a really good one, but there'll be local history groups as well, and we also have the Scottish Genealogy Society, so if they can't help you, they can direct you to the right place. I did a little tour last month, was it, on Scottish genealogy, because I did a lot of ancestral tours, and I love creeping about the archive. So much fun finding other people's history out and the little shocks and things. Now, this is Clement Little. He was born 1527, died 1580. Now, he was a lawyer, and he gifted a legacy of learning. As an advocate by training, Little kind of drafted documents that established the legal status of the church in Scotland. In 1597, Clement and his brother founded part of a committee. Sorry, I've got my dates wrong here. It's not 1597. What was it now? Anyway, it doesn't matter. In the 1500s, he founded part of a committee hoping to create the University of Edinburgh. And then inspired by this cause, and that's when he left a bequest of 276 books, and that helped establish Edinburgh University's library, and it's one of the foremost libraries in the world today because of these original books. So he was quite a he was very much into education and things. So you've got Justice is blind, and then we've got other statues around it. Now, unfortunately, you can see the base of this one is very, very worn because the sandstone has been quite soft, so it's worn away, and we've lost a lot of the detail there. Right. The plaque is actually really... See if you can... I don't know if you can see it better on the screen than me, but I find it quite difficult to read because the detail, the black that was in the lettering's gone. But hopefully you can make that out if you take a wee snapshot. Now, there's lots and lots of burials in here, and it's difficult because it's trying to pick which one do you think that they'll be interested in. But just some of the detail you'll find as well. So even here, you've got like Memento Mori, death comes to us all. Skull and crossbones, nothing sinister, just a fact. And then here we've got some lovely detail with a coat of arms here. And then look at this chap. Does he not look very grumpy? And then you've got all these. You've got an arrow, a scythe, a spade, an hourglass. All sorts of things. So you'll find these symbols all over the place. Now here we've got a mausoleum. This is to a man called George Mackenzie. Very, very rich. As you can see, you've got the mausoleum, beautiful top to it. So as soon as you open the doors, there is a stone floor with a hatch with a metal grill on it, which takes you to the vault underneath. And in the vault is where the coffins are. Now, I have seen in the vault, and it's lead and wood coffins kind of stacked up on each other. There isn't a pit with blood and bones and gunk. It's actually a stone-lined vault, like you would expect with a rich person. Anyway, if you're not rich enough to have that, this is your next best option. You see these metal bars? This is because we had a very good medical school, and we weren't hanging enough people to service the anatomy classes. So we're right next to the medical school here, so people would do whatever they could to protect their fresh burials, their relatives. So this is a mausoleum. You step up into it, and then underneath you have the burial vault. In fact, there's actually a little grill on the side there that takes air down to the burial vault. You see there? So that's where the air goes. Lovely. How fresh it would be, I don't know. Right. So, in the Covenanters prison part of the graveyard, there's a lady called Mary Erskine. She was married twice and had one daughter. Now, after her death, her husband, from her first husband, she became a shopkeeper. And after the death of her second husband, she paid off his debts and then became a successful businesswoman. In 1694, she responded generously to a proposal by Edinburgh Merchants Company to establish a foundation in the Cowngate for schooling daughters of Edinburgh burgess. Now, the aim was to board and educate orphans, impoverished girls of the city's middle classes. And then the Maids Merchant Hospital was founded on the 4th of June, 1694. Oh man, it's the ridiculous amount of dog poo that's about today. Anyway, this is a very common symbol you'll see as well. That's not sinister, it's a grave with the tools of the gravedigger. It's just a little nod, to the gravediggers. Now this is as close as I can get you into this part of the burial ground. You see these bars? These are handmade. These were not machine produced. These are the original old gates to the Covenanters prison, which is just through here. I'm going to stick you through the gate just quickly. Oh, there we go. And bring you around so you can get a picture all the dogs going to see Bobby. Probably. Now, in 1706, she bought land and buildings for the hospital, and on her own death in 1707, she bequeathed a large sum of money to the foundation, and a similar sum to the Incorporation of Trades, who followed the example actually and founded their own trades hospital, and it was called the Maidens Hospital. So, yeah, you've got the Burgess and you've got the guilds, right? Now, her foundation became Edinburgh Ladies' College in 1896, I think it was, and then it was named Mary Erskine's School in 1944. It's quite a nice picture of the church from here. Yeah, and then it's one of the oldest girls' schools in the world. So she died in 1707. Yeah. It's nice the sun's come out and shining on the church for us, just to get a nice little postcard here. Right. Somebody else that's buried in there is James Hutton. He's known as the father of modern geology. He was a farmer, he was a naturalist, and he observed the world closely. And his revolutionary theories about geology swept away wide beliefs about the Earth's creation. Now, we think he was dyslexic because his handwriting, spelling and everything was atrocious. And it was actually his friend that transcribed what he had written that actually got him the recognition that he deserved. Now, in Edinburgh, we're very lucky because we have Arthur's Seat, which is a volcano, and then just in front of Arthur's Seat, there's a completely separate geological feature, which is a dolerite intrusion, and that's Salisbury Crags. And on Salisbury Crags, that's where you find Hutton's section and Hutton's Rock, because he studied these features, and that's how he came to realise that the world had been created over a much longer period than first thought. So this is William Adam. He was the head of the architectural dynasty, Scotland's foremost architect in his day. Now, he built and designed country and public buildings across Scotland, even remodelled Hopetoun House, which is supposed to be depicted below here. I'm not quite sure. Now, his son John, Robert and James all became architects as well. Now, when I've done my Glasgow from the beginning tour, where it all began, and we're talking about Glasgow Infirmary, Royal Infirmary, I mention James and Robert Adams there. Now, right, let's see. Oh, we can go and have a look at Alexander Henderson. Yeah. It's such a beautiful day. It's a little bit chilly, but we're getting some really nice light. Now, just ahead of us, here we are, Alexander Henderson. He was the architect of the National Covenant, so he's remembered on St Giles as well as having his grave here. And this was an agreement signed by the people of Scotland in 1638 in opposition to the proposed reforms of the Church of Scotland by Charles I. The King imposed changes to the Scottish Church in the 1630s, causing widespread protests. Basically, he wanted to impose the Episcopal style of or structure of worship on the Church of Scotland. King is head of the Church. Then that didn't go down. That didn't go down well here at all. And he died in 19th of August 1646, I think it was. He had graduated from the University of Edinburgh, St Andrews rather, in 1603. I'm just letting you have a look at some of the detail on these just while we're here. It's a fantastic burial ground to look around. Let me see. So, this little face here. Lots of swags. We've got the lady just here. And there's another one on the other side to match. But if we look up here, it is very worn, but you can see the ribs and all sorts just there. So there's lots of detail, and then just above us you can see we've got lots of fruit and things hanging over the edge there. Sadly, most of the inscription is too sort of worn to actually read, but I mean, I have got the details in the house there's some really good books about the monumental inscriptions in here Oh, actually, I'll let you get this just in case anybody's interested in Henderson. I forgot that was there. There. Now, if you just look down here, yes, that is a skeleton lying at rest. It's a grave. I mean, it's a statement of fact. It's just, that is what happens. Now, what we were just, that wall that we're looking at, that's actually the Flodden Wall from 1513. So as we're walking here, we're inside the boundary of Edinburgh's Old Town. Now, just over here, this bed is another medicinal garden, and this one has, or it did have, deadly nightshade, which is belladonna. It also has like foxglove, which gives you digitalis, rosemary, which is good for memory, feverfew. It's got all sorts, anything you can think of, calendula, which is marigold. So you've got all sorts of things growing here. Just the wrong time of year. They're just coming back to life now. So there you can see it says the Flodden Wall, just there. So if we walked through that arch, we'd be outside. Most of them are sandstone. We do have some granite, so we've got a pink granite one there. That's a pink granite, but the majority of what we're seeing, there is some marble. When you see the white like this, you've got bits of marble. But as you can see, marble doesn't really last well unprotected in our weather. So most of what you're seeing here is sandstone. But we'll go and have a little, we'll go over here and see some of the detail. And it's difficult, you've got to let your eyes kind of adjust. Right, I'm going to start at the bottom. So you have like a putty, or I think it's a putty or something, leaning with his elbow on a skull and an hourglass, the sands of time. And then we come up, we've got this gnarly kind of, I don't know, bit green manish, not sure. And then as we come up, now I'm going to zoom in on this because it is quite a sight to behold. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 skulls floating about there. You can see the rib cage, the backbone, the pelvis, the arms, the legs. There's angels. Just to the right and left of the skull with the crown, there's angels on either side of that. It is a spectacular gravestone. But yeah, it's just quite odd, the fashions on these things. And then over here we've got another one, different again. You've got men this time, full-sized. We've got a man there. I'm going to come round and back just so that I can show you some of the detail from here. So you've got the male figures on either side, and then there's a little bit of an inscription, and then we come up and you've got the hourglass with wings. Time flies, you know, your time to go up, your soul going up to heaven. Halfway up now is you've got Elizabeth Patten. It's in, and it could be John Cunningham there. Let me just see. Yes, it is. It's John Cunningham. So you've got on the left hand side, halfway down where the scroll work is, the initials IC, John Cunningham. On the right hand side opposite it, EP, Elizabeth Patten. Now whenever it's heraldry or anything like that, it's always the male initials first, then the female, and that makes it really easy because you can kind of work out who the people were. But the inscription is Latin. Then if we look up, we have got quite a bit missing, but look at that face. Seriously, how scary is he? So yeah, you've got the mouth open, it looks like he's shouting at us. You've got a little putty with his elbow on a skull. You've got an angel on the other side. So much detail. And the thing is, you kind of forget to look up, you know. And there's the coat of arms up there. So it's amazing, the detail. I mean, I could easily spend an hour or two, 2-3 hours just showing you all the different gravestones that are in here, because there's so many and they're spectacular. It's vastly overcrowded, this burial ground as well, and that's why they don't really want you walking too much off the path, because, yeah, well, you can imagine, we've got plague trenches and whatnot. Now here, this is quite a simplified face when you look at it, this angel. You know, it's quite simple, but it's still impressive. Relatively good condition as well. So here you can see James Chalmers, Esquire, erected by his son Thomas. So yeah, and then you've got the angel. And the trouble is we're right in the sunny bit at the moment. Right, wait a second, I'm going to see if I can get you up to the coat of arms. Right, if I zoom in there, it's too dark, isn't it? That's a shame. But anyway, I'll bring you down a little bit. Actually, there you can see that strange face at the bottom of the coat of arms. Really chubby cheeks, nose, looking, it's at the top. And then the detail again, this one is really good. The one before it has a note. Sorry, I've missed it. A boat. Oh, okay, cool. So which one was it? I'm not sure which one it is. I'll come back and have a look. I didn't notice. Right, okay, so we're going to just head down here quickly because sometimes the Masons use their own members of family as models for things. If there's a bust or a painting, then if you wanted, I'm pretty sure they would do whatever you paid them to do. But it's like, you've also got the Photoshop of its day. Portraits are always much better looking. You've lost me. Refresh. If you try refreshing, that should come back. And then this one's a much simpler one, but look at the skull on this one. Look at the teeth. Isn't that amazing? Just the detail. And then on the other side, you've got the hourglass again, the sands of time, the reminder. So I've just got to be careful where I'm walking here. And then you've got these really, really primitive looking faces for skulls. So there's our angels, the wings are folded behind them. And then if you see, you can see the angels on, the wings on that one. And then up here, we've got what looks like initials. And then we've got the coat of arms. And unfortunately, I think that's Latin. Maybe it's not. I'm not. Yeah, I think that's Latin that's on that. So, but you've got leaves on the coat of arms, which is quite unusual. That's cool. Right. Okay. So, right. Let's see. Can I get through this space here? I need to go down those stairs. But yeah, we're going to come down the stairs. It's really, I mean, I've mentioned this on my tour when I do the Old Town, New Town, when they're building walls and they're reusing stone from other places. I'm just going to show you some examples just here. So here's a carved stone that, rather than waste, they've put in this wall and let you see it. Here we've got a lintel from a previous building. They've reused the stone. More of these lintels. Then you have this, which would have been at the top of some sort of pillar or column. And then we've got this, which looks like an upside down shield, coat of arms type thing. And here we actually have a door lintel, which is, I think, a marriage stone, because we can't see the detail on the left hand side, it's too worn, but on the right hand side you've got a religious inscription, I think, and then 19HH. So on the other side it would have had the 15 or 16, 19 plus the initials of the husband. So yeah, and then you've got the base of a column or a pillar, pilaster. Then you have this, which I actually think is upside down, because the C or G is pointing the wrong way. So it should actually be the other way up. But anyway, that's what's an upside down initial between friends. And then here, a man. So you have this gentleman's face and his lace collar. So we're looking 1500s. Oh, have you got snow? Lucky you. Yeah, so basically a lot of recycling went on. Why would you go and quarry more stone if you can just use the stone from a building that has burned down, fall down over time? Now, I'm just going to zoom in. You see that pale kind of orangey steeple with the lead pointy bit? So the lower building, I'm going to bring my finger in here. That's the Magdalene Chapel. It dates back to the 1500s, and it's got the only pre-Reformation glass in Edinburgh. St Giles might have a tiny wee bit, we're not sure, but definitely the Magdalene Chapel has it. And it's a fantastic church, but it's not always open to the public. It's the congregation that open it up. And the man that used to open it up a lot, is kind of retired now, but it's an interesting church to go in and see. Now I'm just going to take you around. Other people that are buried here, we've got James Craig. He was he won the competition to design the George in Newtown, so he's buried here as well. Lots of people. So even again, just looking at some of the detail here. I mean, look at that skull and crossbones. You've got, is that wheat sheaves behind their head? Yeah. So you've got the bones, you've got the skull, and what looks like wheat sheaves behind his head. And then the other one is actually really quite sinister looking, even though it's not. To me it looks a bit sinister just because of the skull and the teeth in it, the way the eyes have been done. But it has wings, so that's your spirit going up to heaven. I know there's so many. Honestly, you could spend all day and still not see it all. Now, if you look up here, you have a person sitting down. Well, is that the Horn of Plenty there? And there is a character which I think is Death or an angel. Death's behind maybe. Then you've got an angel, and then you've got a column, and then you have a house that's collapsed. Do you see it? So within the burials, sometimes they tell you how the person died, or they show you. Not always. Sorry, I'm going the wrong way when it comes to zooming. Right, bear with me. I'll try to zoom out again. You've got the initials IB or JB and AS. So the details are just incredible. And the more you stand, the more time you've got to actually stand and look, that's when you start to see even more coming. Oh God, I just realised I've overrun. I'm so sorry, I didn't realise. Right, I'm just quickly going to show you this one because it's quite a nice one. And then I'll obviously I'm going to let you go because I didn't realise I'd overrun. I thought I had plenty of time. Right, as you look at this, you can see the husband and the wife joined together in death. You see their hands are linked. You've obviously got, the skull looks kind of like he's got a bit of a cheesy grin on his face there. But CF and IB are the initials. So and the nice thing about that is it's showing you the costume of the day. You're seeing them in the clothes they were wearing at the time. So it gives you a little bit of a snippet of the history of what they wore as well. Sorry, I know I don't know what happens. I just end up overrunning. And then just down here, again, this is where the inscription is. You've got the cherubs. They've got flutes or some sort of wind instrument there, and then still little symbols. We've got a little skull down there, 2 coats of arms. And then a headless lady, unfortunate, but you can see she has her foot on a skull, there's a bone behind it, and there's depth to it because the way they've carved it, you can see the folds of the cloth. Her knee and her leg, it's actually quite a shapely leg to be fair, is pointing forward. And then we look up, we've lost a lot of the rest of this. But even if you look to just above her at the top of the columns here, you've got even more detail. And then I'm just going to bring you around for one last little look at that. Sands of time have run out. There we go. Right. Right, I am so sorry. I've run out of time. I don't know. I just get carried away in here because there's so much to see, and I have a plan in my head of what I'm going to show you, and then I go off track. Yeah, when you come in August, definitely come and have a look in here. A nice leg and no head, I know.